Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Saturday, March 15th, 2025, and today's topic will be, I'm going to call it upside down drawing. It was inspired by, I had mentioned Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which is a book by Betty Edwards, I believe, and there's an exercise in it where you flip this, like a picture around, and then you draw it like upside down. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new to the channel. I sketch and post every day, and I use a timer to stay focused and to build a habit. I had an idea that I wanted to, let me turn this back around again, that I wanted to do this horse, but I wanted to talk about how to take, let's say you do something like a value study, which is kind of what this is amongst other things, but like it does show like the values, which is the light and dark, and how to turn that into colors. And so I did want to do that. However, I wanted to use, I like the drawing, like the shape and stuff, and I could just paint over it. And the paints that I have, the paint markers, they're not 100% opaque if you lay down like the first layer, so I could just use this as my point. But I like the sketch, so sometimes that happens where you might want to have this, and in case you mess up the painting or something, or sometimes it's good to just have like the sketch without messing it up. So there's that. Then I had the idea that I could redraw it right here. But then I thought, why not draw it upside down? There's some, like I said, I mentioned that book, and it was really helpful because by doing an exercise like this, and so I'll post a link to yesterday's video if you are curious about how I came up with like the sketches and stuff, because I talked about methodologies basically. So this exercise helps to kind of get to bypass like the idea of trying to draw a horse, which will kind of get in the way of just seeing like the angles and like the proportions and stuff. Like whatever proportions, like you can make this one bigger, but whatever it is, it's relative. So for example, if I decide that like this will be this part, this is also kind of a good way to sort of work on like a reflection. But if I decide that, and reflections can have different sizes, is kind of what I mean, but it's like relative. But for this one, I'll do close to it as I can. So this would be like the first measurement. And so this is good for anything, for measuring, for proportion. So once I establish that, then the next thing would be to figure out kind of like what the next proportion would be, and also like the angle of it. So I'm going to just kind of go like this. And so I'm just kind of, it's like a mental exercise as much as like and also like kind of hand-eye coordination. So I'm just using this to help me. There's other ways of doing this where I could just kind of like blind contour it, but I don't want to do that. So it's just something to do for me it's fun. It might not be that fun. But part of it is, like I said, I wanted to have a picture that I could paint. So maybe in the next one I'll paint this one like this mirror version of it. So yeah, I'm just kind of sort of looking at the angles and also the proportion, like I said. So like right here, and it's mirrored. So if this is going downwards, so for example, if this is like this, then it's this kind of curve. So this is downward, but then this is like an upward curve. And then of course you can make it look like a horse, but then it'll look like this one more, like for reference. So then it looks like this is right here. It's like right here, but then it's sort of right here. Like, now you could grid it. That was like the kind of the other way. Like that's kind of a confusing spot right there. So I'm going to skip that. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just eyeball it. So I need to move that out of the camera a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball and then like also draw sort of. And this is kind of a good way to build like the kind of like a memory, because I can see the picture right here, but then up here I kind of have to remember it also. And then go off of like proportion. One thing is to not flip it around. Like I noticed that temptation to want to flip the picture around. So then I'm noticing that I basically need to make up some stuff off of memory, or off of like making the picture look okay, like the horse. So there's that going on. Now this part gets a little tricky. So it looks like I'm just gonna copy but at the same time I have to make up some stuff here. So it looks like that, maybe. That's a tricky area. So basically I'm going to, let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna have to just draw what I think it looks like, but in reverse. So yeah, like I was saying, sometimes you'll have to switch to what you remember. Like a horse looking like, while using this as the reference, if that makes sense. I mean, it's been a while since I actually did this exercise, and this isn't exactly how it was in the book. I mean, it's similar, and you can also use something else, maybe something simpler. So we'll flip it around and check it out. So once I get kind of this far, I will sort of look at, so I would just do it until you kind of get like the overall outline instead of flipping it back and forth the whole time. And then once you kind of flip it around, you could sort of kind of do the same thing But like now you can kind of adjust some things, see if it helps. I find that as I'm looking at this, that it's not too bad. Maybe and then also, if it is supposed to be kind of like a reflection, which it kind of looks like that, then it won't be perfect. But like, so if you look at this, you can see that like the proportions aren't exact, but like you can still tell it's a reflection. So in this way, it looks a little bit more like an actual reflection, because reflections aren't usually exactly. So this is the other leg back here. Like this got a little stretched out. And you can add a little the details. I think the horse needs to have some ears. Just an idea. I think the main thing like I got out of it was, one, kind of understanding proportion, like I said, the angles and like the lines. Also, it just kind of, it shifts something in your mind. And I remember when I first started doing this kind of thing, it was tough because I was used to kind of this thing where like I needed to basically know the anatomy of the horse, or like the forms and stuff, and just kind of do that. And that's good too, but it uses a different part of your brain to draw in that kind of way also. But I mean, all of it's helpful. I think it turned out okay. It looks like a reflection, so it looks like the reflection of the same horse. Kind of an interesting picture. So yeah, that was the idea for today's daily sketch. I want to thank you for joining me, and if you like these videos, please support the channel. I appreciate it, and until next time, keep on sketching.